I want to tell you some little animal internet type stories, man, that I've had in the past couple weeks, man. It was like chilling out in this more remote like location, man, and it's kind of tough psychologically and mentally being in a remote. The more remote of an area you are, I mean, it just does something. It tweaks the your psychological perceptions of things because it adds new elements of weirdness. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you confront things like, look, I actually can just walk away from my phones for a few weeks at a time now, and not let it take my peace, rob the peace of not being able to have my finger on the freaking internet. You know what I'm saying? Because I've become so dependent on the constant stream of information now that for a while I couldn't let it go at all, man, for very long at all. And now I can kind of step away from it, and then but yet not lose. It's like pretty much, man. It's hard to get far behind. When you have as much foreknowledge as we've been lucky enough to have. You know what I'm saying? Nothing that's coming at us should be a surprise anymore. It's like they've effed up enough in the past where you can look at their prior schematic and apply it and overlay it on the new schematic, and you can see where the dots line up. It's almost like when you're plotting a course for a planet. Where is it going to be in 6 months? Well, it's like a mathematical, statistical certainty where it'll be if you got the right formula. I mean, same thing with the way things been going with the freaking internet. So once you're aware of you can sense the direction where they're pushing. You know where it's heading. So you don't need to constantly be. You don't need to. I don't know, man. It's just. It's unless you're still playing catch up. Do that. But it's just from experience, and you can go back and look through the archives if you wish. And you can see where we were forecasting not long ago and where we're at now. It's all going according to plan. It's just what's their exact schedule is hard to know. And then what's the prophetic schedule looking like? That's the other factor in there. You know what I'm saying? Because, they really love to masquerade. So you're either looking for a fake, a counterfeit, or the real thing. That's really what it boils down to right now. And this is one of the ways where you see what's the real thing, what's really important, what really matters. And this is the animal internet. It was like for days on end. It's like I kept having this glitch in the matrix situation where I'd see the animals twice, like do something, two animals do something twice. You know what I'm saying? It was really strange. Like one day I walk out there and I find a freaking turtle. Like it was a little turtle. Really cool looking painter's turtle. And then release it back. And then the next day, a bigger freaking turtle was just sitting there, like sunning itself. And it just was a real easy picking. And I snagged that up. Then, after this, two giant freaking swans, man, came like walking right up to me. And then later, they came flying like right in front of me. I had my sling with me. It's like, look, they were close enough where it's like actually it's like they just were real close. And it was like but it's like if you needed to, there's always resources around if you just know how to get them, if you're aware of it. It's kind of like this message that I'm getting. And then I went outside. There was a big, huge gardener snake went by me. And then I kind of chased it around, harassed it a little bit. And then I walked away from it. And then another one, it wasn't the same one, just came back. This was a different one. And it was just as big. And I was like, whoa, man, what the frick are the chances of that? Uh, but I was thinking to myself, it's like, man, look at all these times where it's almost like the animals were just delivered into my hand, and uh, it kind of reminds me that, like, I also was listening to this Chinese book of leadership and strategy, and they were talking about when people live in a tyrannical, oppressed society, it's like they're like monkeys in cages. And monkeys in cages, when you look at a monkey in a cage and you wonder why it only acts really like a pig, it's because it really has no free space to exercise what it was meant to exercise. So it takes on the manners of a pig. And that's a nice roundabout way of saying that. Look, people who were, it was like these writers got to write during a time when there was no war. So they got to freely exercise their abilities to an extent, but they were still kind of trying to be polite about it, because coming out of oppressive time when you're monkeys in a cage, there was you couldn't even be honest, even more so then, because it was like you might pay the ultimate price of heresy, and you'll be basically, you can look at the medieval inquisitions, and there's a lot of that stuff wasn't just Inquisition. I mean, it's just it's a tool of politics, man, to extract confessions. Basically, it's fucked up, but and then these writers, to not have to go under the fucking axe. They had to be real crafty about how they spoke about things. You know what I'm saying? And this is a common reoccurring theme out here. With right now with the PC and the connection to political dissonance and terrorism, the redefinition of terms. It's the same things going on now. So it's relevant, and the thing where the animal thing, how it applies to that is like, look, man, those animals, they shouldn't have to pay rent to live on the freaking planet, man. And it's like, and if the animals shouldn't, you look at people and shit, and you look at the way things are and all the injustice, and how we're basically like monkeys in cages, but there is no physical cage. The cage is our mind. And inside the cage, there's only room to act like a pig. Because if you actually exercise your ability as a monkey, let's just say, it would make everyone else look like monkeys acting like pigs. So, I mean, there's kind of like, if you really follow the nuggets of that parable there, that's kind of where it leads. And that's like one of the ways you realize that, wait a second, I'm not a pig. I'm a monkey in this mental constructed matrix cage. And look at how many glitches in the matrix do I need to realize that, like, listen, really, the only thing stopping everyone from freedom, from getting a sense of freedom, just small senses, little by little, short yardage. I mean, really, it really is a process where it's not something that just happens like that. It's kind of like chink, 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 like a roller coaster where it clink, 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 clinks. Then it hits a point where everything, all the physics flip for a while. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's real easy to lose sight of. In this constructed matrix, because I mean, it's really like that movie kind of where it's called The Village, where there's these boogeymen constructed where everyone pretends to be the boogeyman in these costumes. That's kind of like, that's a parody of ISIS. Look, if you go outside of the military's protection, ISIS will get you. If you leave America, ISIS will get you. So I mean, they're using the same, and at the same time, ISIS is okay. They're letting them in through immigration. And at the same time, they're keeping them at bay from without while they're letting them in through immigration. You know what I'm saying? And this is all a fucking, really, it is a box constructed narrative matrix to keep you in fear from above and below. And it's quite effective. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, uh, people forget that this matrix, that we depend on it, that is an artificially manufactured narrative that has been inserted into your mind very scientifically for a long time. And that is the true learned helplessness. That you're helplessly dependent on the matrix. So, it's like, it's on one hand, you're propping up the matrix, a lot of people, but they're pretending to tear it down with the other hand. But no, they're really propping it up. And I mean, that's it. How do you prop something up and tear it down at the same time? I mean, without it being some kind of freaking deception, self-deception, it's brainwashing. And brainwashing is exactly, that is what it really means. It's like engineered and what is that called? Conventionalized, like ideas. Like, I'm gonna plant an idea in your mind and make you think it was your own idea, but really it wasn't. It was just a clever insert. You know what I'm saying? It was NLP basically, which is just magicianry, imposing your will on others through subversive speech, and tricky, like making bad treaties is peace treaties. That's a perfect example. Anytime someone signs a peace treaty, it's not long before there's some kind of betrayal. Always. There's never, I mean, that's just, it's like basically, when you take someone's word for it, but not really discerning whether their intentions are in alignment with their words. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if it's cool to make peace treaties with people if they're sincere about it, but if there's cunning there, it'd be best to not entangle yourself with, it's like, if you tie yourself to the tail of the rattlesnake, how could you ever avoid getting bit? You know what I'm saying? So it's good. Look, if a rattlesnake's around, you got to keep your freaking distance. If it's like, look, there's rattlesnakes around here, you keep your distance from where they're at. You know what I'm saying? You definitely don't want to go tie yourself to the rattlesnake. That's kind of like the Matrix is the rattlesnake. And do you want to, stay tied to this freaking rattlesnake and keep milking the snake oil? You get your weekly ration allotment of snake oil to use for medicinal purposes from Big Brother. Your reward for your loyalty is extra snake oil for all your aches and pains. Snake oil is better than thought crime. But anyway, yeah, man. So it's kind of like, look, dude, the things that you need, what your heart desires, if it's in the right place, I believe God does will grant you the desires of your heart. And it's like, not only does he give you one thing, sometimes he doubles it just to show you, like, look, this is just scratching the surface here, but look, really, that whatever you desire, if it's the intentions are right, it will be granted to you. Especially if you pray for it, and you know about it, because these are things that I pray for. I pray for God to open my eyes to the greater workings here that are going on the earth and in people and in the animals and the environment. I ask for these things, so I'm not surprised when, I get shown things like that, like every day, a different pair of animals coming by, sometimes twice, and it just reminds me, the things that you need are always out there. So it's just your mindset, but don't let your possessions possess you.